Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod. Yes, indeed. As the cool voice that sounds eerily similar to my own says, this is the Flagstick Podcast. It is brought to you by Ping Golf Canada. If you're looking to improve your game, then you need to check out the entire family of Ping drivers, fairway woods, hybrids, and irons, including the all-new I-230 irons and the I-crossovers at ca.ping.com. Okay. Scott McLeod.
How you doing, Jeffrey?
I'm doing great. I really am. And I contemplated today. I was kind of sleepy. Today.
Okay.
I contemplated the idea of, do I call Scott and say, you know what, I'm too sleepy to do the podcast today. Let's just chill and
grind it out.
Or am I going to grab, 3 or 4 cups of coffee and just go, let's do it. Let's do it because the people want to hear us talk about golf. They do. People want to hear us talk about golf. So here we are.
And we like to talk about golf.
We do like to talk about golf. I mean, and especially right now because all I'm seeing now is course closed. However, there are a lot of courses still open. I drive by Emerald Links on the way to take kids to school every day, and it's pins still in, guys still. The guy out there in shorts this morning, but it is like 11 degrees today.
I saw you're right. I saw a few people post some pictures from there yesterday. I think it's going to be 14 down here in Kingston area today. Not so much in Saskatchewan that I checked out there a little bit earlier. I will say I did live in Saskatchewan for a year, so I'm not mocking the people that are there, nor my sister who lives in Moose Jaw, but it's minus 27 as we record this.
Man, you got to have some thick friggin' skin to live in Saskatchewan and deal with that because this is not something that in Saskatchewan, this is not something that is, it's an anomaly. It's cold in Saskatchewan this winter.
No.
It's cold in Saskatchewan every winter. They get lots of snow. Yeah. Good on you. I mean, if you love in Saskatchewan, I mean, there's obviously a reason why you're there. It could be that you're a farmer.
Hey, it's beautiful. Saskatchewan is beautiful. I'll give it that. That was never the reason.
Never been, so I can't really,
that wasn't the reason.
I just know the jokes that surround, the idea of walking out your front door and looking to the left and looking to the right and just basically seeing a road that never seems to end because you can see like there's no hills, that's just flat. But that's just jokes. I don't really know anything about it, so I got no opinion about it.
Well, we used to watch our dog run away for a week. That was a constant one or whatever. But we love you, Saskatchewan.
Oh my god!
But my sister can have it.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, on to other things. What do we got going on today in the show?
Well, we got some good stuff to talk about. Some announcements that many people will have already heard about regarding the PGA Tour Canada.
Yep. We've been sitting on for a while.
Yes, we have been sitting on it for a bit, and it is exciting. And we'll get into some discussion about it because there's some opinions and there's some history and so on to talk about. So it's probably going to be a good chunk of today's podcast. We got a little book that you want to talk about in Product Watch, just shifting gears, talk about a little book. Kevin and Jake Haime are on the lesson tee once again, and they're got some props, some cool little props that are going to help them illustrate and discuss how better balance can improve your ball striking. So that's on the lesson tee. And that's and we got a little Twitter thing, a little Twitter poll, a little Twitter discussion that we did on at Flagstick on Twitter. And some cool discussion. It's one of those ones that seemed to get a lot of interest and a lot of back and forth was going. So we're going to read some of those. We're going to talk about it. We're going to give our own take on it as well. So that's going to be the makeup of today's show. So let's get right at it. Let's get right to it. Let's get to the front nine, presented by Metcalf Golf Club, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Closed for the season, unfortunately. However, time to gear up for next season.
Yes,
and
sir.
time to gear up for the holiday season. Christmas parties are booking now, banquets are booking now, and get on over to metcalfgolf.com and you can pick up some really cool gift ideas, whether it's in the pro shop or whether it's green fees, memberships. Jump down to metcalfgolf.com and check it all out. All right. Let's get into this. The big announcement this week that it's exciting is that the PGA Tour Canada is returning once again to our nation's capital with a new event called the Commissionaires Open.
The Commissionaires Ottawa Open.
And anybody that knows anything about the Commissionaires know that this is a very large organization, security organization that is staffed significantly by ex-military.
My dad spent some time as a commissionaire after he got out of the military, so certainly it's like you said, it's a pretty large organization.
My older brother was a fairly high level commissionaire. He passed away many years ago. But looking up at you, big bro. But he was a commissionaire, loved his job, loved what he did. So, and I'm sure most of them do love what they do. But the Commissionaires Ottawa Open is a new event that's going to be happening in the nation's capital in 2023. And let's talk about let's talk about PGA Tour Canada in particular. This is obviously not the first rodeo for the PGA Tour Canada, formerly the Canadian Tour, many years ago. This sort of marriage with the nation's capital started back in 1992 with the Trafalgar Capital Classic.
Which I kind of find funny though, because and I get it, and I understand that maybe some of the staff at PGA Tour Canada are not familiar with the whole history, but unfortunately when their release came out and and it got repeated by a number of media outlets, they basically said, oh, it's the first time the tour pros have been at Eagle Creek. And I'm like, that's not so much the truth, but I get it. They're not in I guess, involved in golf.
Well, I guess we could give them the benefit of the doubt in that, say, it's the first time the PGA Tour Canada pros have been to Eagle Creek. Although, I mean, generally speaking, when these things change names these tours change names over the years, it's the same tours. The Canadian Tour, PGA Tour Canada is just the same tour that was taken over by the PGA Tour.
The PGA Tour bought it.
Amongst this, the PGA Tour, PGA Latino America Tour. So Eagle Creek.
I guess the first thing to get to a little bit, I've obviously had some discussions with PGA Tour Canada Executive Director Scott Pritchard, who has some ties to Ottawa. He went to did his university schooling here. Used to work at Chuck Brown Golf. Believe it or not. Golf. Yeah. So and Scott's a great guy, always in contact, and he knows Ottawa is a strong market, and basically since the PGA Tour took over the Canadian Tour and acquired it in 2012, late 2011. They wanted to be in this Ottawa market, and they've obviously had a foray into the market, and we'll talk about that, and we'll get to it. But it's been something he's wanted to get back to for the last 5 years. He knows there's a strong contingent of golfers that are here. There's certain support that's here from corporate entities, Commissionaires, Ottawa Tourism, for an example, that they've worked with to get them here, and it's been important for him to get it back here. It's very difficult to run some of these events in very small communities, just because it's hard to get that money behind it, because it's not cheap to run these events.
Oh gosh, no. I mean, that's the thing. We were kind of looking at this, financially. I mean, we have been involved. We've been significantly involved in the PGA Tour Canada events since '98. We weren't involved in '92, obviously, because we weren't around.
Sure.
But since 98, we've been involved in every rendition of PGA Tour Canada / Canadian Tour events that have been in and around. When we go back to the Great Waterway Classics at when they were at Smugglers, when they were at Loyalist, when they were at Upper Canada. You know, we've been involved.
Yeah, we have.
And we pour our support, every bit of support that we can behind these events to help make them successful. But you know, we've also, so we know Ottawa is a great market for this type of tour. You know, I mean, we have the LPGA Tour come here and have this massive event at the Ottawa Golf and or Hunt and Golf Club, and it does so well. It is the LPGA. Brooke Henderson's involved. There's a lot of big name, high profile female golfers, women golfers that are at that event. So that contributes significantly to that.
But we should also say that, you know, even when they're running that event, there's a lot of nerves of whether Brooke is going to make the cut. You know,
because it does affect Saturday, Sunday.
It does, because, you know, here's the thing. There's and you can't fault people for this. It's familiarity and star mentality. Now, I can remember being at Upper Canada. We'll use that for an example.
Yeah.
So this is the Great Waterway Classic, and we'll go back to 2013.
Okay.
Mackenzie Hughes, Nick Taylor, Tony Finau. That's just some of the names.
I know.
Yeah. Some of the names. Now, if you give those names today, people would run out to see those people play.
Yes, but not in the context of
correct. So this is always the struggle for these events. It's you know, it's getting to people to understand and realize these are the next stars of the game. You might not know they are the stars then. So for example, Trafalgar Capital Classic 1992, Eagle Creek. Eagle Creek had just opened in 1991. As an equity golf course. And, you know, if you want to know more about the kind of the history of the course or whatever, you can go to flagstick.com. In our PGA Tour Canada story, the announcement that is up there, we included a fair bit, a chunk of the history of the golf course as far as Eagle Creek. If you want to Google Eagle Creek on the website, you'll find a whole profile of the golf course. But 1991, it opens as a private equity golf course. They bring in this Capital Trafalgar Classic. The winner that year was Grant Waite in 1992. Grant Waite would win on the PGA Tour at the Kemper Open the very next year, and obviously became even more famous as the guy with the showdown with Tiger Woods at the Canadian Open in 2000. Obviously, has turned into a fabulous, golf coach now. But you know, in 1992,
who was Grant Waite?
Who is Grant Waite? So that's always the struggle for the tour, and that's the thing that they're fighting against. Thankfully, they have they have that affiliation with the PGA Tour now.
Yeah,
but that is always the struggle, and you know, we saw it back then as far as the players going into then, you know, the Eagle Creek Classic from 98 to 2001. You know, being involved in there in 2001, Mark Slaughter beats out Chris Greenwood, who we sponsored that week.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
He was wearing a Flagstick hat when he lost in the playoff with Mark Slaughter. But you know, Aaron Oberholzer had won in 99 there. Obviously went on to, you know, obviously now in the broadcast role, but you know, ended up being on the PGA Tour and had some success there or whatever. But yeah, that's always the, you know, that to say, yes, we've had the Capital Trafalgar Classic, the Eagle Creek Classic from 98 to 2001, what became the National Capital Open from that ended in 2017, and the Great Waterway Classic, which wasn't in Ottawa but in Eastern Ontario. So we've had events here, let alone other. We'll go way back in the day for the Canadian Tour. They had the PGA Championship of Canada was sort of involved with the tour back then. It was at Rideau. But yeah, it's great that it's back. We're not saying it's not that it's great it's back, but the challenge always is to get bodies out there to know and understand these are the future stars of tomorrow. And so
Scott, let's talk about that for a second, because you know, we were talking about this before we jumped on the cast today, and saying how successes and failures. Okay, so we know that there have been the Great Waterway Classic, down the 401 in the Great Waterway region, had, at Smugglers, at Loyalist, at Upper Canada, gone. The National Capital Open at Highlands ran its 4-year course, gone. The Eagle Creek Classic did its term, gone. So when we talk about successes and failures, though, we have to remember that these events, the charitable component to these events is huge.
And that's why I don't like the word failure.
Exactly.
Because the tournament ends doesn't mean it was a failure, because where you're getting to is exactly, as long as the charity profits, that's really the big thing out of it. The charity, obviously, that's the key to the PGA Tour. I mean, the PGA Tour, who's given billions overall, that funnels down to Corn Ferry Tour, PGA Tour Canada.
Exactly.
The intention here, and obviously Soldier On is the beneficiary for this event. That's who's going to be the charity for this event. And it's important that money is raised for them. And really, whether 2 people come to see it, or 2,000 people see it, or 5,000, or whatever the case may be, as long as at the end of the day some money is going into the pockets of the charity, that's really the key. Well,
aspect. I think that's the thing, and I don't know if I don't know the this is, I don't even know that this is the discussion that you can have with the tour or what have you, but as far as tour events like this, to look at them as profit centers, I just don't and I see a massive necessity for the PGA Tour Canada to be in Ottawa. It makes complete sense. This is a nationwide tour that is sanctioned through the PGA Tour. It's part of their organization. To not have an event in Ottawa, in the nation's capital, is a little bit silly. It needs to be here.
And Scott knew that.
Right, and that's why he worked so hard to try to get it here.
Definitely.
The only issue becomes what they had the 4 years that they had when it was at Highlands. I thought that would continue. I thought that relationship would flourish, because number one, nothing's changed with respect to the charitable side of this coming season. Right. It's Soldier On is the charity of choice for the PGA for the event, the Commissionaires Ottawa Open. Soldier On is the charity of choice, which was the charity that was involved with the Ottawa Open, National Capital Open at Highlands. So that part of it, and that's great. And what we have in Ottawa is we have our nation's capital. We have military, we have government, and we have high tech. That's what we have now. We a lot of other businesses and stuff.
Yeah,
but let's face it, that's our primary. Our primary.
Sure.
So we have high tech, which means I'm not saying the high tech companies are rolling in money, but I'm saying that high tech companies have money to burn on community driven programs that are excellent for goodwill, goodwill marketing. So there's potential there. We have government. Probably not a good idea for the government to be throwing a whole bunch of money at a golf tournament right now, but tourism-wise, yes,
doesn't look okay.
And tourism is involved. We do know that there is some tourism involved.
Ottawa tourism is definitely involved in this, which is great.
And military,
right? But it's nice to see Ottawa tourism being involved with golf, and maybe recognizing how important it is to the community, because no offense to Ottawa tourism, but a lot of the times when you go on the Ottawa tourism website, it just would list just a few golf courses when we know there's just that much more. I mean,
golf tourism in Ottawa is terrible. Like, I'm not gonna okay, different topic. We'll get into that another time. Golf tourism in Ottawa, as far as this being a destination for golf, is crazy, ridiculously terrible. And it should be a lot better. Anyways,
and that's to say, the promotion of it outside the area is terrible. It's not saying the product is terrible.
No, not the product.
No.
So we got more hotels than we know. We got lots of hotels, lots of great golf, lots of great entertainment, tons of stuff. We got casinos. We got everything you need here for golf tourism.
We'll do another show on
that.
But back to your point, as far as the charity and the continuation of this event.
Yes. I was that's why I say I was kind of surprised, and not knowing the inner workings and so on of the event and why, I was kind of surprised that after the 4-year term that they ran with the National Capital Open, that it had ended, because I really thought that was a good relationship. A golf course, charity,
organization. But again, the difficult part is that these are massive puzzles. Yeah. These are massive puzzles, and there's a lot of things that have to happen for these events to happen. This is not we know what it takes to do our own tournament, which is just for an amateurs or whatever, let alone a week-long pro event to PGA Tour standards, with spectators and everything else. So pro-ams, you name it. So that's the difficult part, is that there's a lot that goes into the organization of the events, to the point of, we've obviously had discussions. We were involved. We were approached before, involved with events. We won't get into too much detail about it, but let's just say we had meetings in years past where, was there interest in us operating an event? Well, the difficult part is what you look at it. And again, it's not looking at it from a profit standpoint or things like that. There's so much work and effort that has to be involved here, and the pieces have to work so well, because it's just not an automatic on the far end. This is not the PGA Tour, as far as, it's not like you're walking Rory and stuff to the tee, which again, doesn't negate how complex it is to run an RBC Canadian Open or whatever. But yeah, it's difficult. And I think that's the challenge always with these events. And every person that's run these events over the years, and obviously we've had communications with everybody that's, running these events, it just takes a lot to make it happen. So it's just unfortunate, because we look to see events that are running in the communities like Victoria that have been running for decades, and it would be great if this event could be in that position that we would have the tour here on a year to year basis. But we're also realistic in knowing that it is a challenge, and there's a lot of work that has to happen, and that has to have a lot of support.
Well, that's the thing. And I kind of feel like that long-term success of an event like this in our region, or any of them in any towns, there has to be like, it can't be looked at as something that it's a major business entity. Like I just don't see it as like, I couldn't look at it as the owner of, the president, owner, whatever you want to call me, of this business, this company, Flagstick. I couldn't look at running an event like this without looking, because of the amount of work involved in it. I couldn't look at it as a non profit making entity. So if I look at it that way, I'd have to, you really have to look at how can I check all the boxes that are necessary from a charitable perspective, and a profit and a business perspective. And is it, so for me, that's just me. Always, as Flagstick, glad to step in and do what we can to support and promote the tour. Every day and twice on Sundays, we will be there for the tour, and maybe a bit more because of Scott Pritchard and the relationship that we've had with him for so many years. Going to make sure that we do what we can to see that this event is a success from our end. So
what we'd like to see, though, is we'd like to see people show up to see it.
Now this brings up another point, and I know we have some other things that we want to get to, today, Scott, but I really, I don't care. I mean, the podcast can be 4 hours long if we want it to. Nobody will listen for 4 hours straight. But the point being that, yes, we want spectators there. 100% want spectators there. Can you expect people to buy tickets to go and watch the tour, the event? That's what we want. We want them to pay to come and watch these guys play golf. However, if this is the struggle that seems to be that seems to happen when the tour comes to Ottawa. It seems to be difficult to get people to buy tickets to come and watch. Then is there something else that needs to be done to ensure that there's bodies on the golf course? Do you need to, like, I don't know, do you need to sell tickets? Can you not just give the tickets away? I mean, are you really bringing in that much revenue from the event, from the ticket sales of the event?
It's a valid question.
I'm going to sneeze.
It's a good question. Well, that's why you have a mute button.
I don't have a sneeze. Yeah, this is like people are going to see me sneeze.
I guess that's the difficulty. It's the chicken and the egg sort of thing. I mean, the thing is, you could make it free. Does that make them come out? I mean, it depends what the motivation is for somebody to come out and see this event, right? I mean, I always look at Highlands. People could have watched Taylor Pendrith play.
Yeah,
Taylor Pendrith, who now all of a sudden people are like, oh, he played in the President's Cup and then whatever. Yeah, where were you? Where were you at Highlands when he was bombing it down number 2 and hitting a wedge into number 2, which was playing as a par 4, which members know as a par 5 too.
Right. And we got new people coming up that, I mean, there's some familiarity. I mean, obviously, Noah Steele is call it a local product. He's not from Ottawa, he's from Kingston, but it's close enough. But there's ties to yourself and to Derek McDonald.
Well, we're gonna see locals playing in the Monday qualifiers. There's probably gonna some that are gonna get some exemptions. That's gonna be up to the operating group or whatever, of who gets those exemptions or whatever. But we have young up and coming pros, be it a Ty Salone from Long Sioux, or Jake Bryson, who just turned pro and played out of Eagle Creek. So, so there's some opportunities there for that local buzz for people coming to see people. We saw it at Eagle Creek Classic back then. It was Matt McQuillan, who we helped get in the tournament, who eventually went on to play in the PGA Tour. So there's that. It's just always that hard thing to sit there and go, is the ticket the barrier? It shouldn't be. If it's $10 or $20 or whatever, that shouldn't be a barrier. But it's not about the barrier in a lot of cases. It's a case of, what is going to motivate them to get out there. And it's the same struggle that, minor hockey would have.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to get people to, how hard is it to get people to minor hockey? I mean, you should be able to pack the stadium every night for a 67th game, but again, if it's not the big cheese, no different when you go onto the LPGA Tour. If it's not Brooke Henderson, you still need to. Maud-Émile LeBlanc is super, super skilled. I know she's not Brooke Henderson, but people all of a sudden are following Brooke, and they're not following Maud-Émile or Elena Sharp or even some of the other stars of the game or whatever. So it's just always a struggle that way. So it's hard to say what that means as far as logistics. We'll hear more about the plans as far as this event. Again, July 17th to 23rd is the date. It's designed to be played out at Eagle Creek. I'm hearing on the schedule it'll follow the event in Montreal. Again, we'll be there to support it. I just hope this time around, it sticks.
I hope so.
People come and see it, and we'll do what we can to do our part to support the tour and to support the coverage and things like that.
100%.
And you know what, here's the thing, between now and next July, we'll have a lot more of these discussions. So
yes, because more information is going to start to come out, and I would love to, I mean, we're going to talk, we have a little Twitter thing later on. I would love to kind of get a little conversation going on Twitter about this and what people think about what I want to see unbiased discussion about the event, not promoted stuff. I want to see it, because
and we will do that. We'll because this event is new and not everybody's heard of it yet. I want to give time for people to understand and realize that it's actually happening. And then we'll put some polls out there on our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, whatever the case may be. Are you planning to come watch this event? And if not, why?
Exactly. That's the big question. If you're not planning on coming, don't say you're planning on coming and then you're not coming. Right. Just to get your 2 cents worth in on Twitter. if you're planning on coming, great. And why? If you're not planning on coming, then why not? Why wouldn't you come? Because the price of it, because you don't want to pay $10 to come and watch it. And frankly, I don't care. Like I said before, there's no money to be made from the ticket sales. You could put 5,000 people through there at $10 a ticket. It's not that's a good chunk of money, but it's not.
Well, that could go to the charity, but you're not going to see that many anyways.
No,
I mean, you don't see that many people at a Corn Ferry Tour event. So,
well, that's the whole thing. So why bother? I guess is my and I'll leave my 2 cents worth in there. Is why bother if it's not that big of a deal at the end? I would rather, from a marketing perspective, I would rather have as many bodies on that golf course watching those guys play as I can possibly get for the benefit of the people that are sponsoring the event, because that's those signs that are up, all those signs around the event aren't doing anybody any good if nobody's there to see them. So that's the most important thing. I'm going to drop my money on a sign on the event, on a T sign or whatever. That's great. But I want 400 people or 500 people to see that sign. I want 1,000 people to see that sign. I don't want 10.
Yeah.
So because TV coverage obviously is not a big TV component of it. So that sign's got to mean something. Yeah. So just think about that. I guess we can leave it at that for now. We'll bang back the discussion on this at another time. And in the meantime, there you go. Do you want to, we got maybe a few minutes before I got to take a quick break, Scott. Do you want to jump on anything else? Do you want to leave it there and just move on?
Just quickly, just mention LPGA this week. We mentioned Brooke. We'll just say that before we move on to our next segment. But they're supposed to be playing the Pelican Championship, which is the second last event of the season for the LPGA. Right. They're supposed to be getting underway today, which we're taping on Thursday. Not happening due to the storm that's coming through there. At a text, an email from a caddy last night before this was announced. But obviously, because of the impending storm, the fact they're going to get 40-mile-an-hour winds and 4 inches of rain, they're delayed till Friday. But Brooke is playing in the field, Alina Sharp is in the field, Monami LeBlanc is in the field, and Maddie Zarek. Important week for the players. Top 60 go on to the race to the CME Globe, which is the final event, the big money event of the year. Brooke is 4th in those standings heading into that. Top 100 keep their cards. So it's very critical for the other 3 players to maintain their status. Monami's in a good spot, so she should be okay. But this is a big week for Alina and Maddie Zarek to maintain their status on the tour. And now they'll only have 54 holes to do that instead of 72.
All right. Okay. I guess we can leave it there. We'll leave it there for now.
Sure.
And we'll pop out, take a quick break. When we come back from break, we will we'll head out to the lesson tee. Actually, you know what? No. We're gonna head out. No, don't have enough time. We've got to take a break. We'll head out to the lesson tee and see what Jake and Kevin have up their sleeve or under their feet for the tip this week. We're gonna talk about a book. Not going to tell you which book, but we're going to talk about a book, and we're going to get to the little Twitter discussion, which I think people will find interesting. Should be fun. Stay with us. We will be right back here on the Flagstick podcast.
At Ping, we're an engineering company. Success is measured in the lab and on your scorecard. We focus on results. Your results. In the G425 Max driver, that means more time in the fairway, less time in the rough. It means longer drives, shorter approach shots, and fewer putts. The new G425 drivers, taking MOI to the max. Get fit today.
Visit ca.ping.com to learn more about G425.
All right, and we are back. And yes, indeed, we are going to... that was a really very good in-depth discussion about the PGA TOUR Canada event. I know we're gonna. It's going to be, because it's a big deal. We're going to make it an even bigger deal
for sure,
because that's what we do. We make things that are big deals bigger deals, in a good way.
We try.
But indeed, we have to head out to the lesson tee, which is brought to you by the Kevin Haime Golf School. It is always the right time to play better golf. Whether you need private lessons, better short game, some putting help, or even a custom club fitting, visit kevinhaime.com, and remember that better golf is a lot more fun. This week on the Lesson Tee, as I said, Kevin and Jake have a couple of props that they're going to be working with, and they're going to show us how better balance can greatly improve your ball striking. So let's see what Kevin and Jake have got for us.
Happy Tip Tuesday, golfers. All right, golfers, today we're back on the Lesson Tee. We're working with teaching aids again. I love the pool noodles, Jake. They're inexpensive, and you can use them for so many things.
Including whacking me, yeah.
Including whacking my son, yeah. So today we're talking about balance. And what I discuss with golfers is four-way balance. Not only side to side, left to right, but also toes to heels. You've got to find the middle of your feet. So we've got these balance pods, Jake. Describe people, jump up there and tell them what you're looking for in your balance.
Yeah, so basically I'm putting the pod under the middle of my foot, so under my laces, just behind the ball on my foot. That way I'm centered on top of the golf ball. And then I'm really just trying to find the point where I'm balanced in all four directions. So I don't have too much weight on my toes or heels, on one foot or on the other foot. And you think about any sport, that's important. We want to make sure we're athletically balanced in a way that we can move our bodies athletically.
All right, that's great. But now you got to get into golf posture. So we've got to get down to that golf ball. So then what's the key?
So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick my bum back, flex my legs a little bit, and allow my chest to fall forward to counterbalance my hips. And when I do that, assuming I use my bum back properly, it's actually quite intuitive to keep the balance I found earlier while in this position.
Yeah, it keeps the back nice and straight too, keeps Jake tall so he can hit the shot. All right, Jake, so we're trying to swing this golf club, keeping the weight under the middle of the feet. Just hit a little shot for us. Let's see it. So you can see that the finish is a little restrictive because you actually should go to the outside of the foot and onto the heel. But he can certainly feel where the weight is. Now, I like this, I think, even better, Jake. It's less of a test, but you can do this at home. And it's the same idea. When you swing a golf club, we want the weight to be in the middle of the feet, move to the inside of the back foot, a little into the heel, and then over onto the front foot. Never to the toes, though, and certainly never outside that back foot. So let's stand on the pool noodle, Jake. Get yourself set up there, just so we can see what's happening. Awesome. Again, find the middle of your feet. Super important to do that. And then just take a little swing, a little bigger one, Jake, with the pool noodle, but that's a beautiful shot. Wow, you hit that well. So you can actually see the way he stays in posture from the back view, and it really helps for just consistent contact because you're more in balance, right?
And it gives me direct feedback. The pool noodle shows me where my balance is. That way I can practice properly and make sure I'm more athletic in my golf swing.
There it is, golfers. Think about your balance and where the weight is in your feet, and you'll become a better ball striker.
All right. Indeed. See, I love the tips. I especially like it when Kevin and Jake do tips together.
It seems like it's obviously it's a very natural duo. For the fact that obviously Jake and Kevin have been around each other their whole lives, but they interact well, and the whole goal here obviously is to try to make somebody better, and it gives a little bit two different perspectives to it as well. So
yeah, for sure.
But good stuff there. I mean, finding your center both laterally and horizontally within your feet is very important. Obviously, we have to do that at speed, which makes it more of a challenge. But the couple elements that they worked in there, very effective drills with low cost, that you can work on and improve your ball striking, because in the end, hitting the ball off the center of the face is kind of a number one priority more than anything. So good stuff there.
Cool. All right, Scott, let's dive into our back nine discussion.
Sure.
Back nine is brought to you by Golf Sim Gurus. If you're looking to get a golf simulator, which you're running out of time if you want one for this year, if you're looking to get a golf simulator that fits your needs and your budget, visit golfsimgurus.ca and talk to our buddy Andy and get that done. So Twitter, we like to use Twitter for a number of things. We like to use Twitter to get information out. We like to use Twitter to follow what other people are saying to get to see what they're saying. We also like to use Twitter once in a while just to throw something out there, you know, kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing if it sticks, and then seeing what the spaghetti does after it does stick. Does it just fall off the wall or does it roll down?
Well, I mean, one of the big things about Twitter that we've always done, you know, since the very beginning, and, you know, we're 14 years using that platform on top of others, but, you know, it's the interactivity. It's not a case of just pushing information out there, which obviously we have a lot of information that we push out there. And the last couple of days, it's been the national letter of intent signings. Believe me, I've posted enough of those in the last couple of days of kids signing college agreements, Canadians heading south. But you know, this week I decided to kind of dig into some things a little bit more, because I've been talking to a few people about, you know, taking up the game and when they take up the game and the influence of, you know, why they get started. And a lot of this was prompted actually because I was working with a student who took up golf during COVID, like literally like two years ago, who's now like a 9 handicap. And I'm like, why did you get into it? And that, you know, that origin story is kind of important. We all have them, and we'll get to ours, I'm sure. You know, he just said, got invited out, seemed like it was pretty fun, you know, got a little better, and it became addictive. But that person got into it, you know, kind of late compared to probably some other people, at least from our poll, what we'll find out. So, you know, I guess the biggest thing was, you know, I'll read out what the poll is. I basically just said, let's hear your story. At what age did you take up the game of golf, and what prompted, inspired you to try it? Leave a reply. So, you know, it's great to hit the polling results, and we had 357 people respond to that poll. And it's interesting to see the 4 categories that I gave them: younger than 10, age 10 to 25, ages 26 to 40, and ages 41 and up. But it was more important to even hear the stories behind it more than anything. Sure. And should we give it the poll results first? And I mean,
I think that's important to note that, you know, the majority of the people that responded to the poll were between the ages of 10 and 25. I mean, 52.4%.
Not the people that responded. The answer. The answer that they gave. So
52.4%
said they took up golf at ages 10
when they were, you know, between the ages of 10
and 30% were younger than 10. So that means 82.4% of those 357 people
under 25 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
so
is it really that surprising though? I mean, that's kind of the number I would expect would be that,
I would too. And I guess there's a couple of reasons for that. And we've seen that. And obviously we know that's important as far as things like golf in the schools programs and junior programs. And this should really emphasize to golf courses is that, you know, although they're chasing the person that has the ability to buy a membership. So let's say that person is over the age of 26, right? People that are taking up the game based on this poll that are over the age of 26, there's only 17% of them. So this means that junior programs are more important to cement their connection to the game early on. To get them to be members later.
Friggin' that.
Yeah. But I mean, this is obviously not uncommon with a lot of other sports. You know, this happens across the board as far as people, when they take an interest in an activity, generally most people will take up an activity when they're younger. And there's many reasons for that. One of the things that people will not take up golf later on, just because they have they're self-conscious about, you know, playing poorly. They don't want to be embarrassed when they go out or whatever. Whereas when you're a kid, you don't really think about that. You just go and you play. So that's why it's important to sort of break down that barrier that they've had some sort of experience when they're younger, so that when they get asked to play later on, even if they haven't played a lot of golf, that they've had enough familiarity that they're like, yeah, no big deal, I'll go play. Whereas all of a sudden you ask somebody who's never played before, who's like 50 years old, and you say, hey, do you want to come and play golf? And they're like, yeah, I've never played golf before. You know, you'll get a lot more hesitancy than you'll get people diving in. But that lends itself then back to that age group and the stories of why people taking it up. So why don't we dive maybe a little bit first? When did you take up the game?
17. I was 17 years old. I took it up because I was Two of my very good friends in high school. They were members they were junior members at Bell Park Fairways in Kingston. And
municipal golf course, we'll say to people, because obviously not everybody that's listening to this podcast,
which no longer exists, unfortunately. Well, it still exists, but
they just tore down the clubhouse the other week, so that's gone. So unfortunately,
sadness.
Yeah. But just to let people know, because we do have listeners in lots of different countries. This is a municipal golf course, 9-holer that was owned by a city.
Yeah, so I started playing because that's what those guys did in the summer, and I thought that this would be kind of cool. So I bought a set of golf clubs from Canadian Tire where I was working. They were not very good. But
neither were you.
They did the job. No, I was terrible.
That's how it works.
I was terrible.
You're usually as good as your equipment.
And that's how I got started playing. And actually, the funny part about that whole story was that golf was ultimately became the icebreaker, or my in, if you will. To my wife, Patricia, her family, liking me because her aunt. Thank you, golf. Yeah, exactly. Her aunt was an avid golfer and a junior coordinator at looked after the juniors at Bell Park. She was an icon at Bell Park, and I golfed with her and her group, with Doc Kassam and that whole group. I golfed with them when I was a member there as a 17, 18-year-old. So when the word got back to my wife's mother and father, it was like, okay, all the good words were sent about me, how great a guy I was and everything. So I had the in. So thank you, golf, and thank you, Aunt Rennie, for that.
What
about you? I know it was young for you. 17, that's old for me, but
10 for me. And, it wasn't prompted by parents or anything. I just happened to have, the aforementioned Saskatchewan that we're talking about being so cold, but in the summer it's hot. Happened to have a couple of friends who, we were just looking for something to do. We're in a little village in the middle of nowhere. It's a military family. A couple of them had parents' golf clubs in their garage. Went down to a school field, started to hit shots, thought, oh, this is pretty cool, this is fun. Bugged my parents to go play a golf course. They had some experience with golf. There were some clubs around. We ended up getting a set off a neighbor for me to make use of, and went and played some a muni golf course, a place in Bruno, Saskatchewan with sand greens. I've told the story a few times before, written about it. $3 in the honesty box, and I was hooked. I was hooked. So, but I also began to see that there were a lot more people that liked the game and were involved. And before long, within a few years, I was playing on a regular basis with my parents, which made a great connection with them, getting involved with tournament golf and all that sort of stuff. So blessed to get involved with it at an early age. But apparently, not that early compared to some other people as well. So
let's take a look, let's take a look at a couple of those, Scott, because I mean,
what stands out to you when you look at those responses? And
a lot of the ones that say they were 30.
Yeah, that was,
that number. I was kind of scrolling through this, the very first one, at Ian McNeil.
Do you remember Ian?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you remember throwing up in his van?
Says I was 30, a young parent living near a 9-hole track which no longer exists. Tried it out, realized I could walk it with the kids while wearing them out before bed. Yeah. 2 summers later, some buddies I decided to try a real course and played Highland Links. 31 years later.
Yep, there you go.
Highland Links.
Yeah, that's pretty good for a real course. For
your first real, we decided to try a real course. We played Highland Links. Oh, really? No, only one of the top 10 golf courses in the country. But hey, there you go. Yeah.
And what I said to Ian, and now for people that don't know who Ian is, Ian was a longtime host with CBC in Cape Breton. Knew a lot of people, knows everyone down there. A lot of people know Ian, and I said right back to him, I'm grateful that happened. Unlikely likely that we would have met otherwise, because he was involved with some hosting duties when we were on a trip to Cape Breton and some tourism stuff. But that's interesting that, you know, as a young parent, because again, not a lot of young parents would jump out and play golf. But I think one of the opportunities there was the fact that, you know, he could walk it with his kids, so he could spend some time with the kids. It was an activity that they could do sort of together. And, you know, frankly, he's in a more rural environment where at that point, maybe there was more access. That, you know, it's harder sometimes at some places if they're busy, that you could get access just to go out there and kind of walk with your kids. But yeah, kind of unique that at 30, because obviously, you know, that falls into the, you know, the 15.1% group as far as that age is concerned.
Well, exactly. And there's another one at Bowsy21. Started when I was 30, started at an office job at a trucking company.
Saw that one.
Wanted to fit in, so started playing, was bit really hard, and loved the love has never stopped. Broke 190 the first summer. I love golf.
Yeah.
You know,
and there's something to be said. And that goes back to, you know, even playing with my friends, but it comes down to, you know, your social environment as well. So, you know, it's very rare that someone just, you know, turns on golf on TV and says, I want to go do that. That's very, very rare. So people have to understand and realize that, you know, not a lot of people, just because they see tour golf, that doesn't inspire them to play.
Yeah.
In more cases, it comes from family.
Yep.
It comes from their social environment. So in this case, it's his work environment. It's something else the other people around him do. So it's acceptable, right?
Yeah.
So as he said, he wanted to fit in. So those are the influence. So when people are talking about growing the game, and I hate that term when it's used in regards to, tour stuff and things like that. There are aspects of the tour that are helpful as far as exposure, things that, you know, tour players can do within the community and stuff like that, that can inspire people to be interested in playing. But overall, it usually comes down to people that are around you more than anything.
Yeah, no, 100%. If anybody wants to look at more, because there's a lot of interaction with this one. This was a pretty big one. So if anybody wants to check out, you know, all of the interaction, obviously, follow us at Flagstick on Twitter, and you can see.
Yeah, the poll was done on November 4th. So if you go back in our Twitter timeline at Flagstick and look at November 4th, you'll see the poll there. You'll see all the replies to it as well. And if you have a hard time finding it, just message us or whatever. I'll provide the link to you. Not a problem there. And beyond that, we definitely saw a lot of other family mentions as well, grandparents, parents, all that sort of things. That's cool to see. And school, even I saw someone mention it was a middle school activity in 1982 for them, and as a result of it, they kept on playing. So great to hear those origin stories. Definitely want to hear more. We'll definitely do some more polls and some more discussions about that. There's lots of other platforms where we can host things, so who knows, we may have some more discussions as far as the origin stories, because they're fun to hear.
This one's really, this one I started reading. I just started reading all the comments and stuff, and it's like, wow, there's some really cool and interesting stories here.
And some of the people that replied, there's even a Canadian amateur championship winner that's in there, and I won't mention who it is. You can go and find that one. But yeah, he started playing when he was 12, influenced by his dad. So neat to see the people that responded, and from locations around the world.
Yeah, and there's just one more. I'm not going to read it, but one more when you're scrolling through this. Most people in the hockey world know Liam McGuire.
Sure.
You gotta check out his, because it was pretty cool. Like, it was pretty cool how he kind of got into the game. I mean, Liam's an avid golfer, and obviously a hockey trivia,
guru.
nut and guru. But his story of how he got into golf, at Rideau is really, really interesting, and I encourage you to go and check it out, because it's a cool story, and some of the replies are pretty cool too to his comments. So, okay, what else do you want to get to, Scott? Here, you want to pull? We had to skip a few things in the front nine there. So why don't we jump on a couple of those things? We have a new golf repair shop opening up in Ottawa.
Yeah. Now, do you know a little bit more of this? You can, well, I mean, a little bit, I guess.
I do a lot.
At least you met the owner.
Yes, it's called Golf Logics, and not Golf Logics as in the
GPS
device. Golf Logics, 2 words, Golf Center. It's located, going to be located on Wellington Street in Ottawa, and it's opening December 1st.
Yep.
I don't have a ton of details on this.
There's not a lot on their website.
It's primarily professional golf club repair, fitting, club making, that kind of thing. We're kind of, I guess we're kind of missing a little bit of this in the region now with Al's Clubhouse, Al Bazanson not doing his thing anymore, and Don Irving at Artisan Golf not doing his thing anymore. Obviously, Golf Town and pro shops at various golf clubs still do some. Golf Town probably more than most. Golf Works obviously does some as well. But this is more of an independent individual that's running this. I'm going to go and see the facility when it opens. We agreed to wait until it opens, but December 1st. Okay. So wait for a little bit more news on that once I have a chance to take a look at the facility and talk to John Kennedy, who's the owner operator. I'll get a little bit more detail.
I've got some news and notes, a news and notes post that was up on our website. And if people want to look at that, there is a link to their website in there if they want to go and find that.
And also, you mentioned the signings, college signings. So there's a few there, not a lot of local ones. But some signings, college.
Yeah, so there's a bunch. I didn't put many in the notes there. Again, if you look at our Twitter feed, that's where I was running most of it yesterday. That actually dominated a lot of discussion yesterday, which was actually neat because, when we start posting the NLI signings, and we got to remember, this is not only in, these are national letters of intent for NCAA schools. NCAA schools also includes Simon Fraser University. They have an NCAA program. So Brendan O'Brien, I believe, signed there. But I do get a lot of parents, players, coaches reaching out, talking about this. We'll have a few more in the next few days. Spoken to a few players, and they're basically have said, they have signings coming up, so we'll keep reporting on those. But kids going to Michigan State and Tennessee, and good strong programs kind of all over the states. And one of the responses that was funny was I had a PGA Tour Canada member reached out, and he's like, man, I can't believe how many more kids now are getting picked up in Canada. And we had a discussion back and forth about that, and we were talking about the depth of the number of players that are in Canada now, the fact that they're playing more international events, they're going to get the exposure. And on the other side too is what some of the coaches have mentioned to me, and we have a fair number of Canadian coaches now in the US, is that a lot of the kids in the US are picked over. So if you get the top players in the junior ranking scoreboards and so forth, you got 60 schools after one kid. Well, the odds of a school spending time recruiting and getting that person, if they haven't talked to him early on, is pretty hard. So it's a little easier for them to kind of reach into different pools where players are not picked over as much. International, you see, Sweden, Spain, Mexico, Canada is obviously a part of that. It's usually easier for maybe some of those coaches to secure those players. So again, if you go back to our Twitter feed, you'll see a listing of all those. I know last time when we had the springtime signings, I took all the Twitter posts and embedded them in a post on flagstick.com. And I think I'll probably do that again, just so they're there all in one spot. And if people are not on Twitter, they don't have to go there. They can just go to flagstick.com and see that. So I'll put one up there, and we'll keep adding to it there. And congratulations to all those kids. And as Kevin Blue, who is with Golf Canada, who went to Stanford himself, was on a golf scholarship. He replied to our tweets today saying to these kids, keep working hard, thank the people that are around you, have a good support system, and understand this is a start. This is not the finish line. So just because you've got there and you've signed, you're 17 or 18 years old. You have a lot more ahead of you as far as your golf career. Don't stop. Keep pushing forward.
Exactly. Okay. So I will leave, before we get to Product Watch, I want to leave one note there, because you mentioned kids, and we were talking about some other things with respect to growing the game, the Twitter poll, all that kind of stuff. I just want to, my own 2 cents worth here is that I hate the phrase growing the game, because I think it's used in the wrong context.
I like it. I like it when it's used in the right context.
Exactly. So growing the game, truly getting more people to play golf long term, and I stress long term, is the younger generation, the under 20, under 25, under 20s, the younger generation. That's where the 40 and 50-year-olds come from. The poll suggests, and it's a small poll, but it's still a poll, and the polls generally are small sample sizes that make up for a bigger picture. The poll suggests that the greatest growth in the game of golf comes from the younger generation, not the older generation. So we need to kind of put our focus and our emphasis, I think, a little bit more on trying to encourage kids to play golf, so that we can support the long-term growth of the game, not so much the short-term gain from the game. And I guess that's, long-term pain, short-term gain, whatever the phrase is. Get the younger kids, focus on our juniors, focus on junior programs
to grow later.
It's not a lot of money in the pocket right now, but down the road, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, that's where your big senior membership dollars are coming from. So trying to get 10 more people to pay $4,000 a year for a membership versus getting 100 more kids to pay $400,
it'll pay off.
Yeah, long term. Okay.
I like it.
Product Watch.
Yes, sir.
Brought to you by Greensmere Golf and Country Club. Elevate your game at Greensmere. Choose between 2 great golf courses, two 18-hole championship golf courses, distinctively different, definitely challenging. Visit greensmere.com for more information. Check out membership programs for 2023. All right, Scott, you want to talk about a book?
This one.
There it is. Those that can see it, says The Science of Golf.
Yep.
The Math, Technology, and Data. And it's Will Haskett, right?
Yeah, Will Haskett, who people might be more familiar with as a broadcaster and announcer. He's on PGA Tour Radio with their broadcast team, works with Mark Zecchino, who's Canadian, but, involved in sports, has a strong social media presence, writing about the game, based in Indianapolis. And I know he's been working on this book for quite some time. And, I was sort of intrigued. One, it's fairly low priced. You can buy it for around $30. I was intrigued because obviously, as somebody who's deep into the technology, the science, the math of the game, I kind of want to see it from my perspective. And I also want to see how is this translating things to a consumer perspective. And one of the things that we don't see a lot of times on a lot of the broadcasts is we see a lot of myths in the broadcasting, and we don't see, a lot of broadcasters sort of lean into the modern things that are happening within the game. Now, that said, this book should not scare consumers.
No,
this is not designed to be a book for pros,
physicists.
It's not for physicists. It's not for somebody like me who's already deep into certain things of the game to gain a lot of knowledge from. That said, I would still think a lot of pros would benefit from kind of reading it. And I think one of the biggest things that it does is it really provides a synopsis of what's happening in the modern game of golf in a way that people can read about different aspects of it all in one spot, be it that the clubs, the balls, the data, the mental game, and things not related from, myths or things that we maybe assumed happened from the 80s and the 90s or whatever. this takes into account all the modern things that you might see, whether it's strokes gained or 3D or whatever. Now, it doesn't dive so deep into it that it's training you for everything, but it just makes you aware of all the elements that are happening in the modern game today and where things are heading into the future. So I think Will did a really good job. Now, I mentioned in the review that I put online, and again, people can find that on the website at flagstick.com. There are other books that will dig deeper into the science of the game if somebody wants to dig deeper into it. But if you want a general overview in a $30 read, that's still a good read because he blends in a fair amount of quotes from, tour players and, how they make use of certain things and the people that are behind some of these technologies and innovations and the future of the game. So it makes for a better read. It doesn't make it like a technical journal. So I think it's a good synopsis of what's going on in the world today. Makes for a good read. And, if you've got a golf geek in your family who, you want to buy a gift for an
Merry
upcoming
Christmas
season. Exactly. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you like. This is a good gift. Happy birthday, whatever. It's a good read, and I think Will did a great job. And I think people will enjoy it if they just pick it up and give it a look.
There you go. Okay, so you can check that out at flagstick.com. It is in the tee shot section of the website.
Yep.
Scotty, great show.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Love the show. Love the show this week. Some great discussions on the PGA Tour Canada. Some great discussions about our Twitter chatter, if you will.
Yes, lots more to come.
And yeah, we're going to have some really, as we sort of enter into the off season now, courses are closing and whatnot, we're going to have more of these shows where there's just going to be a lot of discussion, some topics and some discussion, and our
related guests as well. So
yeah, we're definitely going to get some guests on, but that takes a little time to line up. So we'll make sure we get some guests lined up, and there'll be some great shows this winter. So you'll be able to curl up in your easy chair beside the fire and either listen to us or watch us on your laptop. That said, that's it for another episode of Flagstick Podcast with myself, Jeff Botter, and Scott McLeod. Thanks to all our sponsors, Metcalf Golf Course, Golf Sim Gurus, Greensmere Golf and Country Club, Kevin Haime Golf School, and of course our presenting sponsor, Ping Golf Canada. If you're looking to improve your golf game, then you need to check out ca.ping.com for the entire family of their drivers, irons, hybrids, fairway woods, including the all-new i230 irons and the i crossover. Check it all out at ca.ping.com. Hopefully, as always, you're enjoying watching and hearing what we're telling you. Be sure to follow us across all our social media networks, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We love for you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Some cool stuff is up there. Like us, click the notification bell, and make sure that you never miss a single episode ever. Get over to flagstick.com. As we said, there is a ton more amazing golf content produced every single day up there for your perusal. And subscribe to a Flagstick Digest newsletter. A lot of that new stuff, as it's posted to the website, is sent to you 3 times a week.
You got it.
And you won't miss anything. So, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. Until next week, I'm Jeff Botter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Always remember, go for the stick.